All right, let's get right into something that can, well, make or break a relationship: money, and more specifically, financial independence. In this explainer, we're going to unpack why financial dependency so often falls along gender lines and what that really means for both people in a marriage. It's a huge conversation, so let's just dive in.
So let's just cut to the chase with the big question our source material poses. Why are women so often the ones who are financially dependent on men and not the other way around? It's a pretty provocative question, right? It really forces us to take a hard look at our society, our relationships, and what personal freedom actually means.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at how things start, the differences in how we're raised. Then, we'll get into the reality of what happens after marriage. We're also going to talk about the burden on the sole earner, explore why self-reliance is so critical, and finally, see how it all comes together to build a much better relationship.
So where does all this begin? Well, according to our source, the seeds of financial dependency are often planted way back in childhood, where society kind of sets up two very different paths for boys and girls.
And wow, this slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? From a young age, boys are often told, go out there, make money, be a provider. The pressure to earn starts early. But for girls, the narrative is often very different. It's more about finding a good partner, building a family. It's like they're being put on two totally different tracks from day one.
The source puts it so simply. Our society has strange rules. And it is strange when you think about it. It's this paradox where we push one group toward financial ambition and guide another toward domestic life, which basically sets the stage for the dependency we're talking about. All right, let's move on and see how this all plays out in the real world. What happens when these childhood lessons meet the reality of marriage and family?
This really illustrates that story we see play out all the time. A woman can build a fantastic career for herself, she's doing great, and then, well, life happens. She gets married, and very often that means she has to relocate for her husband's job. Right there, that can throw a huge wrench in her own career, and then, of course, come the kids.
And this is the real kicker, according to the source. The arrival of children is often the final tipping point. The huge responsibility of childcare tends to fall mostly on women, and that leads so many of them to put their careers on pause, a pause that very often becomes permanent. That path that started in childhood, it kind of reaches its logical conclusion right here.
But here's something that's so important to understand. This dynamic, it doesn't just affect women. The source is super clear that when one person is totally dependent, it puts an absolutely massive burden on the other person. This isn't just a women's issue, it's a family issue.
I mean, just think about the pressure. For the sole earner, there can be this immense frustration. There's this constant nagging fear of losing your job, because if that one income stream disappears, the whole family is in trouble. He's carrying the entire financial weight of the family on his own shoulders, and on top of that, often feels like he has to hide how much he's struggling.
And this is where it gets really subtle. Our source points out that sometimes this whole dynamic gets reinforced with the language of love. A husband might say, "You're my queen, you don't need to work, I've got this." And look, it sounds romantic, it sounds caring, but it can also be a way of keeping things just as they are, maintaining that dependency and leaving his partner in a really vulnerable position.
Okay, so given all these challenges for both partners, the source argues for a totally different approach. The solution here isn't about pointing fingers. It's about building a new foundation, one where everyone is capable.
And that foundation is built on one powerful idea: self-reliance. Just the ability to be financially independent and take care of yourself. And let's be crystal clear, this is not a gendered concept. It's a fundamental human need for everyone. This isn't about one person becoming more like the other. It's about every single person having the security that comes from knowing you can stand on your own 2 feet.
So what does a relationship built on that mutual self-reliance actually look like in the real world? This brings us to the really hopeful part, the vision for what a true partnership can be.
The benefits are just huge, and they're so practical. When both partners earn, the financial weight is shared. It's not crushing one person. If somebody loses a job or gets sick, guess what? You've got a safety net. The other person is there to carry the load for a while. And this sense of partnership usually extends to chores too, creating a home that's just more balanced. The result of all this? Life becomes more peaceful, it's more secure, it's way less stressful for everybody involved. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The source material strongly suggests that a partnership where two people stand as capable equals, supporting each other through everything life throws at them, that's not just some modern idea. It might just be the foundation of the strongest, most resilient, and most loving relationship you can possibly have. What do you think?